My name is Grace. I'm the Community Manager here at the Student Room. I focus in on the University and Career section of the site. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit more about the current situation that we find ourselves in and what kind of things we're doing here on the Student Room to help support our official reps and clients with talking to young people in regards to the COVID-19 situation. So to start off with, by the end of the webinar, you'll understand how students are feeling, the kind of questions that we're seeing around the site, approaches for building your online community, how to speak to students online, and common pitfalls to avoid. Now, obviously, we're in a really uncertain time at the moment. Coronavirus has been such a massive impact on a lot of people's lives in so many different ways, and young people are really feeling a large brunt of this with the cancellation of a variety of different things relating to their future, and there are lots of worries involved. We're now going to have a look at how students are feeling. So, in terms of how students are feeling, as I said, the pandemic is a massive impact on their lives with cancelled schools and exams, uncertainty around how the processes are going to work, with information being drip-fed to young people and to providers as well. Students are feeling really anxious about the current world that we're living in. So we did a word cloud from all of the different conversations happening on site over the last few weeks. And we had a look at all the keywords that came up that were being used regularly. You can see here that obviously cancelled exams, how their grades are going to be awarded, how lockdown and coronavirus is affecting their daily lives are key. They're the worries that are affecting students at the most at the moment, as for a lot of people, lockdown and how that affects our lives is affecting everybody. However, you can see that other terms involved are panic, vulnerable, crisis, risk. They have health and mental health worries that are really concerning them too. And that's something that we shouldn't forget when looking at young people. They may be concerned about the educational aspects of coronavirus and how it's impacting their education, but they're also humans as well, with young people having a lot of struggles with their mental health at the moment. So we had a look on site at the site statistics for March. Now, obviously, with all the information coming out in March, we've seen a massive increase in the number of young people using the student room to come and discuss with other young people and experts and professionals about how coronavirus is impacting them. You can see it in our study help section of the site, which is where we look at educational aspects, so grades, revision, how to boost your grades. We had a 40% increase in the number of posters coming to the site, the 76% increase in the number of posts, massive numbers. For our university section of the site, we had a 45% increase in the number of posts, which lots of people talking about how their universities are coping with the coronavirus pandemic and what kind of information they're giving to them, and then also from applicants asking application questions and how it's going to affect their UCAS forms. And sadly, we've also seen a really high number of people posting in our mental health forum, 60% increase in the number of posters there in just 10 days. Obviously, students are really, really concerned, and that is impacting their mental health. And as we go further into lockdown, we are seeing more and more mental health worries come up as well. So we have support on site to help all of these young people who are struggling. We have UCAS trained volunteers and advisors who are doing their very best to try and calm students down in regards to application questions. We also have Samaritan trained peer support volunteers who help support young people who mention suicide and self-harm within their posts on site. They will direct them to real life services that can support them as much as possible. We also have a mental health charity, Pirates, who are a charity for the prevention of young suicide, online every day on the student room at the moment, and they are supporting young people with any questions they may have, and they're a fantastic presence on site. Now, we'll have a look at some of the conversations that we're seeing on the student room. So, as I mentioned, students are just really anxious. It's really uncertain times, and the anxiousness of generally just preparing for exams and having that taken away from a lot of them is a massive impact and leaving residual anxiety. They're also, of course, worried about loved ones and family members. If they're a university student at the moment, they may not be isolating at home. They may be isolating in their university accommodation, so being away from family is something that is really concerning them. They're also worried about their future, especially if they are a year 11 or a year 13 student. GCSEs and A-levels, we are taught from a very young age how much of an impact they have on our future life. And to see that those are taken away from young people, they're cancelled, they'll get a predicted grade, a calculated grade. They're very concerned about how their future will be with this impact on, and whether that will continue long into their adult lives. And they're using humour to cope as well. We've seen several threads on site trying to use positive energy to try and boost everybody's spirits, including a meme thread. They're also just connecting with others. That's why they're on the student room. They're coming to talk to us about what it is that they're worried about and finding other people that are also worried about that and feeling that they are not alone. Sharing their experiences is a really key part of that. So now we're going to be having a look at some of the common questions that we're seeing on site from young people themselves. So we split those down into the different year groups to try and help support you and help you understand what the different year groups are most worried about. So for year 12 in particular, how can I choose a university without going to an open day? And it's something that is really concerning for a lot of people. So for some students like medicine and dentistry applicants as well, this is a massive concern. Great time to be talking about virtual open days and any other online activities you have planned, and trying to get that information in front of year 12s as much as you possibly can, so that they can have some extra support around understanding that although June and July open days may be cancelled, they can still see the university in some form and feel that they don't have to kind of worry about what they're going to make of their choices to be in their application without actually seeing anything. So for year 13s, they're really, really worried about their applications, obviously, and these fall into some main questions. So should I panic firm a university now is one of the key questions we're seeing on site. Students believing that they should firm a university to give them a better chance of getting a place in September time. Obviously, we're trying to dissuade students from doing this, as advised by UCAS in our conversations with them. There's lots of concern about availability of places and being safer, but we need to remind students that they shouldn't make any rash decisions, especially in a time like this, and we need to be supporting them to take the time that they need to come to the right decision for them. We've also had a look at how applications are affected and why young people are so scared about that. And essentially they're worried about offer conditions changing. Will any stability measures such as student number controls affect their application? Will they have to resit any exams? And if they do, when do the results come out? When do they get to go to university? Will they still be able to attend technically in the 2020 cycle? And how will that affect their place? So these are all questions that obviously are awaiting answers, and it's really concerning for a lot of people to have everything holding on to answers that are coming and being drip fed to them. So a lot of concern around applications, and we're speaking with UCAS on the best way to help support students at this time. We're also seeing a lot of conversations about, should I take a gap year? Should I defer my place? They're already a big topic of conversation at the moment. We're expecting that topic of conversation to get even larger as more information comes out. They're already talking about it, and we want to make sure that they are supported as much as possible to make the right decision for them and not due to the impact of coronavirus. So we're also looking at current students and how they're experiencing the pandemic at university. One of the key questions is how will placement be affected? And so for people who are on placement at the moment or are looking to take a placement year, will they be able to finish it? Will they have that affect their grades? Will they get to actually go on a placement next year, especially if they're currently looking for one? Does the impact of coronavirus on businesses mean that their placements will not be available next year? Will they get to do their year abroad as well if they were looking at doing one, especially language students? These are all obviously key concerns. How students will sit their exams as well is something that they are really worried about. So some universities have been fantastic, really upfront about how exams will work and what they need to do, but others don't have as much information as that. So you need to be getting out as much information as you possibly can as soon as you know it to young people who are studying at your institution to support them as much as possible. And then finally, we're looking at what happens after I graduate. This is a massive concern for a lot of third years because they've worked for 3 years to get the grades that they really wanted so they could go out into the world and get a graduate job. Are those graduate jobs even going to be available anymore? That's a real key concern for a lot of third year and final year students. And can they still apply for internships, apprenticeships? And how will it work in a new world that we will be experiencing when coronavirus ends? Can your career team help students with this? So potentially they might be able to support students online to help get them the information that they need to make some informed decisions about what they should be doing over the next few months. Now, we are students. Do you think you'll be awarded a fair grade with the new calculated grade system? We had a look at this a couple of weeks ago before the Ofqual announcement came out, and we had over 1,200 posts and 55,000 page views, and 61% don't think their grades will be fair. We recently ran a follow-up poll for this, and we found that over 66% of people thought that their grades wouldn't be fair after the Ofqual announcement came out around how calculated grades will be working. So massive numbers of students thinking that this is going to be unfair and impact their education. With that, what would that mean later on? Will there be more appeals? Will there be more resits in autumn? Or will there be other measures institutions can take to support young people? These are all questions that we will be looking at over the next few months. Also, we ran a poll to ask students if they are thinking of changing their university choice as a direct response to the COVID-19 situation. We found that 15% of students are thinking about changing their university choice and are worried about the impact that it has maybe having on their future studies. For example, if any loved ones are ill or unwell, do they need to stay close to them? Do they need to consider a university closer to home? Do they want to defer a year? Do they want to now take a gap year? And how do calculated grades impact their university choices? Will they need to look at a different university to reflect the calculated grade they're expecting? Or will they need to look at a different course? These are all worries that students are facing at the moment. We're also seeing lots of different conversations on site around just speculation of what's going to happen and trying to get as much positive and evidence-based information out there to young people. So talking about how A-level and GCSE exams are not going to go ahead in May or June as planned. We've had over 600 posts, 27,000 page views. With the postponement of A-level and GCSE exam speculations, we were looking at over 1,000 posts and 38,000 page views. And people talking about how coronavirus is impacting their university education. Is their university going online? We had over 1,000 posts and 50,000 page views when looking at this. I mentioned earlier that there are conversations outside of the education sector for young people. We have a coronavirus mega thread run by one of our community members who keeps it updated, talking about how all the impacts and updates are affecting young people, putting that into the thread so people can keep updated. And we also have our meme a day to help make COVID-19 go away, to try and encourage just a little bit of fun. With everyone in lockdown, it's obviously a really concerning time and people just want to try and make it as positive an experience as they can. However, they are still all asking all of the regular questions as well. And this is something that is really important not to forget. So, for example, which university should I pick? Will I make friends at uni? What should I study? How do I complete my dissertation? What uni is better for which subject? These are obviously all questions that they're still worried about. Some people are trying to plan as much as possible as if September will be happening. And for year 12s who are now coming into the stage where they would normally be assessing their options around university, they are wanting to ask all of these questions for the 2021 cycle. So keeping that in mind is really important. Business as usual, as well as dealing with coronavirus. So how can your forum help young people in the coronavirus pandemic? So community building is really key here. This is something that you would normally have done face-to-face through open days, applicant days, speaking to students over the phone, for example. These are now not possible in the same way. Phone conversations may not be possible in the same way as well due to staff shortages and lack of ability to answer the queries that are coming in. And so now you need to start building your community online. Your forum is your hub, and every institution will have their own forum where students can ask questions about what it's like to study there. You can also integrate it into your CRM to help build a community of current students and potential applicants. which is a fantastic way of keeping track of what's going on. It's a public group to help support and generate curiosity in others, which is really important to remember. We are not only talking to young people, but we're also seeing other young people come onto the site to see what is being said about that university and not necessarily posting themselves. You want to generate that curiosity in them to encourage them to get in contact with you. And you can use it to answer questions, share updates, hear student feedback and respond to it, and then also foster discussion within your current student pool and your applicant pool as well. So applicant and current student chat threads are a fantastic way of providing a space where students can connect and you can give them updates and information as much as possible. You can check in regularly as well, let people know that you're online and around to support them. And you can also direct other applicants from around the site to your applicant chat thread to build community and show people that there are other people in there talking about their experiences as either a current student or potential applicant and how that's affecting them. You can also get current students involved to answer any questions that potential applicants may be having. I'll show you here an example of an applicant chat thread. So here we have Birmingham City University applicant chat thread. You can see here that they've started in the original post asking for a few different bits of information from people, giving them something to start with, which is a fantastic way of fostering discussion, asking those questions so people can answer. Also advertising in the open days and virtual open days you may be wanting to look at, and also encouraging people to have a look at some Instagram posts as well to keep them interested. And we also have people coming in and talking to the reps and also other applicants about what they are doing and seeing if anybody else is applying for the course at that university. And you can see here people asking questions, is this normal, what it's like. We've got a fantastic person who's come in asking people to ask them any questions as there are recent admissions confirmation, and asking people to give them some information. And it's a great way of keeping students engaged. And if you pop in regularly into your applicant thread, students will be really happy to see you, know that you're around to ask any questions. It's a great way of building your community. So you can also look at guest lectures as a way to encourage students to engage with you and build your online community. So with social distancing obviously being a factor, now people can't go and talk to academics in the same way they would at an open day, but this is a fantastic way to give students the opportunity to interact with academics and do it in a way which encourages the whole community to get involved. Essentially, you choose a topic of conversation relating to a fantastic academic you may have at your institution's research or work, and get them to start a conversation around a particular question. You can see below some examples of some questions that other people have done that keep it really engaging and interesting. It takes place over the course of the week, and the academic is given training by the TSR community team to use the site and get involved and answer any questions and build up those community vibes and promote the university in that way. It's a fantastic way of showcasing your talent at the university, how wonderful and supportive your academics are, and in that respect, showcasing why you're a fantastic institution to be part of. So we'll show you an example here. And this one, in particular, is mathematics that you learned at school relevant for daily life? You can see here that we had a poll at the top, which is great. Get people engaged at the beginning, ask them the questions, see what they think, and then a short introduction as to what the guest lecture is about and a short introduction to the academic as well. And you can see people getting involved here, asking questions, and the University of Huddersfield guest lecturer coming straight back in, and giving a little bit of information about them. You can see here just linking a little personal information. You know, I'm trying to lose weight, so it's a reason why I didn't try to buy Chris in the first place. I think it's just a great way of building community, showing that they're a human being, and really encouraging other people to talk to them and get involved. They're not a scary academic. They're somebody that you can talk to and ask all these interesting questions that you may not have thought you could do previously. So you can also do Ask a Current Student or student AMAs as a way to get involved within the community and talk to young people. You can share the authentic student experience, give an insight into university life, and showcase the amazing students that you have at your institution. It takes place on an ongoing basis, and you can check in regularly to answer any new questions. You can also join our Ask the Current Student project, where we have over 190 volunteers on our site who are coming and delivering Ask Me Anythings around being a student at their institution and doing their course. It's a fantastic way to showcase, as I said, the amazing student talent and wonderful ambassadors you might have at your university. If you're interested in running a guest lecture, please do speak to your account manager. They'll be more than happy to help you with that. With a current student, Ask Me Anything, please speak to your community staff member, and again, they'll be more than happy to support you with anything around that. You want an engaging title for both, so do speak to us if you're having any difficulty coming up with a title. So feeling connected is the most important thing about building a community, and that's not just within your own forum, it's with outside of your forum, on the other forums that we have on the student movement you may or may not have explored. You need to shine a light into your university and the student experience and create content and community around your institution. And you can do this by posting really relevant and engaging content that may not be related to your institution and the courses in particular, but showcasing the talent that you have. So, for example, here we have Sheffield Hallam, who did a fantastic thread around would you exercise more if you knew how much it helped your mental health. You can see here that Hallam students started with a kind of little bit of information about what they're talking about, and also talking about a psychology student at Sheffield Hallam who set up something called the Happiness Bootcamp, giving a little bit more information about the Happiness Bootcamp, why it works and what it is, and then asking students, what exercise do you enjoy doing, how do you fit it within your studies, and just encouraging general community chat. Now, this is a fantastic way to showcase the abilities of the students at the University of Sheffield Hallam, and showcasing what students are going on and doing after they are doing their degrees, without doing it in a really obvious way, without shoving it in people's faces. They're just encouraging people to consider having a look at that as part of the thread. A great way of building up your community without kind of pushing it in people's faces and on your thread. So to do all of this, you need to get the right people on side. You need your admissions team and your student recruitment teams around for any challenging questions that may come up. It's important to try and answer as many challenging questions as you can to show that you're happy to take on board feedback and support people in these difficult times. You also need some fantastic, enthusiastic student ambassadors and passionate and engaged academics to take part in the guest lectures and Ask Me Anything for current students. Now we'll look at tone of voice and why tone of voice is so important to speak to young people during this pandemic. And remembering the human is the most important thing in this time. You need to be human yourselves, empathetic, professional and kind, and showcasing why you are an institution that somebody would feel comfortable and supported going to. You need to be clear and transparent at all times. If anything is speculation, it's best not to mention it at the moment and talk about the evidence and the facts that you do currently have to hand. Be mindful and sensitive of students going through a difficult time. They may be experiencing bereavement, going through grief, maybe ill themselves. So remembering that people are in various different states of anxiety and uncertainty, and they need your support as much as possible is something that's important to remember. Also, you want to be helping them make balanced decisions and showcasing that there are different options out there and you're just trying to make an informed decision around what is best for them, and putting that out to them and showcasing that you are not just a marketer and pushing it in their faces will mean that they are more happy and supportive to come and talk to you about it. Sticking to facts and evidence, as I said, is important. Making sure you're getting as much information as you have out there and as quickly as you can to the students. And Signposting to resources as well showcases your institution and the resources and support services that you have available. Maybe you have a great careers team, a student life centre, counselling services. Show that you care. Those services are available to current students and to potential applicants when they come along to the university, and people will be interested in what you have to say. So we're now going to have a look at some examples of some good responses from some of our official reps at the moment. These aren't related specifically to the coronavirus pandemic, and simply because it's only just starting and people are still trying to get to grips with understanding what this means. But currently there are some fantastic ways of supporting students in a similar way that are currently available on the site from previous inquiries I've made. You can see here that the University of Brighton official inquiries and team have been fantastic around supporting a student who is nervous, and we'll take a look at this now. So you can see here, somebody is talking about law at university. They're going to start and they're really not prepared. They don't know what to expect, and they want to get a little bit more advice on how to become more prepared before going along. You can see here that University of Brighton have come in, said, look, it's totally normal to feel nervous, massive change, and then talking about just generally about the support that Brighton have available without pushing Brighton as an option for that student, because they haven't mentioned any universities that they're particularly interested in or the one that they're looking at attending, but showcasing that they have a fantastic programme called Hit the Ground Running, and that they're welcome to have a look at it, and seeing if any other university that they're considering has something similar, and also just providing their names, a little bit of information about them, their University of Brighton reps, and just being supportive is a fantastic way to showcase their University of Brighton's abilities and resources, and also calm down some nerves. So we're now looking at student ambassadors sharing their experiences. So I mentioned that a student AMA or current student talking to potential applicants is an important way to build up your online community. You can see here that Newcastle student ambassador has come and spoken to somebody who was unsure of what degree to take, considering chemical engineering. They've just said that they've come to the end of a degree in chemical engineering at Newcastle and wanted to answer some questions. There's lots of information here, niche details, inviting more conversation and sharing their experiences as a student, which people will really appreciate, not just that student who's asked the question, but also other people who are reading the thread who want to know a little bit more about what it's like to be a chemical engineer. Again, ending with, if you've got any more questions, send me a message and reply on here, and I'll be able to help you, which is great. And again, using a name so that somebody knows that they're speaking to a real human is fantastic. We then had sharing of student insight. So you can see here that somebody has asked, in Loughborough's catered residence halls, is it possible for lecture timings to clash for the engineering course with meal timings in the hall? So a really specific question, something that you may think originally, or how even could I answer something like that? Loughborough have been fantastic, and they have come back and spoken to that student and said they've done some digging, speaking to some friends and people that they know are in those halls studying courses that are similar, and have given those experiences over to that student. At the end of this post, they also said they would update with any current student recommendations, and they did so as well, which is just fantastic. And showcasing that they've gone the extra mile to support that student as much as they can, and are friendly and down to earth is a great way of showcasing the institution. You can see here in the next one, we have our sharing experiences. So somebody has said that they are thinking of setting up a business, and any ideas would be greatly appreciated. Liverpool Hope came in and spoke to that student and said, hey, look, I've recently graduated from business management here, and we had a great project where we could create and develop our own business, and we've got tons of tips. So talking about the projects that are available at Liverpool Hope and mentioning the university, but again, not kind of forcing anybody to consider it. It's not a question that invites that kind of information, but just giving some amazing experiences and tips that you wouldn't get anywhere else around how to set up a business. And they're helpful, comprehensive and detailed, and as I said, it showcases that course in a really authentic way and showcasing the actual knowledge that you'll get from that course, which is fantastic. Now we're looking at Nottingham Trent University and a student who asked which university will accept my grades. So they were unsure about which university would accept them with the grades that they had. They needed to get good grades in their A-levels and they were doing a BTEC as well. And they were just really uncertain on what the future may hold for them. So they gave them advice on how to start the process. Asking questions will help guide the applicant and encourage more conversation as well, which is really key. You want to do this as a conversation. That is how forums get most out of their members and building that community up. So asking those questions, building up that experience and knowledge is really important. They're reassuring and they're supportive. They are just seeming as human as possible, which is really key here. So some things to avoid when talking to students about the COVID-19 pandemic is getting involved in debates, discussions, and conspiracy theories. Sticking to facts and evidence, as I mentioned earlier, is the most important thing you can do within this, as long as you are being supportive as much as you can. And getting involved in any speculation means that you're kind of breaking down that kind of authoritative source that you have spent time building up on the forum. So you don't want to be doing that. Marketing speech or being opportunistic is something that we strongly avoid in this pandemic. One thing that students do not want to have done to them at the moment is to be marketed at. They are concerned, they are worried for their future, and the last thing they need is an institution coming into a thread where they are concerned, worried, and marketing their institution with no prior invitation to do so. Students will find that incredibly off-putting. Anybody who also sees that will think that you are being opportunistic and also find that incredibly off-putting. So it's really important that you don't do this at this time. Closing down a conversation, again, is something that we also want to be avoiding. This is where you provide your answer, but you don't encourage or invite any extra questions. Always make sure you add that little sentence at the end of any discussions that you're having, so people know, even if they don't have any other questions, they can still ask you, and other people reading it will also be able to see that. Linking off to any FAQs with no context. So for example, if you have a coronavirus update on your institution's webpage and you want to link people to it, linking with no context about why you're linking to it and just saying, hey, here's our coronavirus update, thanks, University X reps. That's not what we want to be doing. We want to be putting as much information on the page as possible. This is so people don't have to leave the site to do so and find out that information, which is something they don't enjoy doing. And this is something that they feel will provide them with extra information outside of the question that they have asked. So making sure that you are putting information from your institution's webpage within your discussions and then linking to an FAQ afterwards, so that if anybody has any extra questions, they can come and have a look at that. It's the best way to do it. Please don't copy and paste text between answers. Students, as I mentioned, will be looking at a variety of different threads when making decisions or looking for some information for themselves. And if they see you've copied and pasted answers between other people and just use different information, they won't like it. They'll see that you are cutting corners, and it's something that you should be avoiding. Remembering to consider the lurker is the most important thing when replying to somebody. When you're replying to them, you're not only replying to them, you're also replying to the hundreds of other people that will be reading that thread and looking for that information. So you need to make sure you're as helpful as possible on the page so that they can see why you are someone that they can talk to if they have any questions themselves. Using the university name in thread titles is also important. With the student room, we have a lot of different institutions using the site, and if everybody started it with just a coronavirus update for their forum, it gets confusing. You don't know which university's coronavirus update is which unless you click on it. So making sure that you keep your university's name in the title is a great way to avoid any other confusion. Keeping conversation on the public forum, and by this I mean that you're not private messaging people. Keeping everyone on the discussion is important. Never PM people unless you need any specific personal information, in which case you need to give them some contact details and encourage them to get in contact with you rather than taking anything from them. Also, always quote and tag in your replies so people understand and know that they are being spoken back to, they are receiving an answer for their question, and that you're talking directly to them. using the site. We also have some site navigation here and some really important things that you should be looking at if you are considering the best way to build up your community. So key forums that we have, something that is really important to keep an eye on are these forums here. Our applications and UCAS forum, our University Life forum, courses forum, and our coronavirus impact on education forum. These are great and important forums to keep an eye on so that you can keep in contact with young people who are asking any questions. I'll show you the coronavirus forum here. So you can see here that we've got lots of different questions around what's happening with coronavirus, and there may be some specific questions for your institution here, so do definitely keep an eye on that. If you're looking to kind of watch the forum and make sure you don't miss an update, if you click this button up here, you can subscribe to the forum. You can also receive email updates for the forum as well, which is fantastic. And it will also show up within your watched forums here. So that means that I can see what's going on. We also have our official rep lounge for our official reps who want to speak to us at any time. We give updates here. For example, Maple Leaf, one of our wonderful community team members, has given you some information about how best to set up a coronavirus update thread, any new introductions to the team, and any information on webinars, for example, that we may be running. We also have individual private feedback threads for all of our reps, where you can come and talk to us about any questions that you may have regarding your official rep and how best to use it and get the engagement you're looking for. And that is a private thread that we'll tag you into so you can see. So thank you so much for attending the official rep webinar here for our coronavirus update and coping with the COVID-19 pandemic. To find out any more about setting up an official rep account, if you don't already have one, you can speak to our wonderful account directors, Lorna and Amy, who will be more than happy to support you. For any existing official reps who need to talk to somebody regarding the product or anything about engagement or setting up sticky threads, for example, Mallory and Oscar are fantastic for that. They are Maple Leaf and Snow Princess online. My name is Strawberry Dreams Online, terrible username. If you ever need to talk to me, do please let me know in the feedback thread and I'll be more than happy to help. Finally, I hope you enjoyed the webinar. I hope it was useful. Any questions, please do let us know. We'll be more than happy to help support you in any way we can. We hope that you're taking care during this pandemic and looking after yourselves. And thank you again so much.